Hola amigos, bienvenidos a Conversaciones de Altura, episodio 82. Soy Joel. En esta ocasión platicamos con Meg Castellanos y Antonio Aguilar de la banda de Los Ángeles All Souls, quienes nos visitan por segunda ocasión al programa, esta vez para platicar de su segundo disco llamado Songs for the End of the World, canciones para el final del mundo, que curiosamente se siente así el ambiente, ¿no? A nivel mundial se siente que ya estamos a punto de empezar un apocalipsis. No quiero sonar dramático, ¿no? Pero eso es lo que gente mucho más inteligente que yo está pensando, ¿no? Espero que se equivoquen y que todavía haya vida para largo rato, ¿no? Pero bueno, ese no es el tema de hoy. Platicamos con All Souls y bueno, este disco fue producido por Toshi Kasai, que es como el quinto miembro de la banda. Toshi ha trabajado con Meg y con Tony desde su banda anterior llamada Totimoshi. Bueno, no produjo, fue ingeniero en los últimos tres discos de Totimoshi y en estos dos discos de All Souls. Toshi ha trabajado con Melvins un montón, con Tool, con Foo Fighters, con Helmet, con Qui, entre muchísimas otras bandas y músicos, ¿no? Este disco es muy bueno. No sabría cómo describirlo, la verdad. Tiene unas cosas góticas, no góticas, más oscuras que lo anterior. Un sonido más dark, pero tiene unos coros muy melódicos y unos solos de guitarra increíbles. Entonces, se los recomiendo mucho, échenle un ojo. Y bueno, nada, síganos en redes sociales, en Facebook y en Instagram. Estamos como Conversaciones de Altura. Igual en YouTube, en Twitter como Conf de Altura. Escríbanos correo electrónico, Conversaciones de Altura en Gmail. Y bueno, estamos para darles lata. Gracias por escucharnos y por su apoyo. Los dejamos con Tony y con Meg de All Souls.
Okay, so welcome to another edition of Conversaciones de Altura. This is going to be maybe Spanish, maybe English, who knows? But I have two amazing musicians, two amazing people that I really enjoy and admire their music and them as people. My main people, Meg and Antonio Aguilar from the awesome band All Souls. How are you, friends?
We're good. A little stressed out with the election coming up, but yeah.
I know. You know what's funny? Well, funny and interesting that all the eyes world are directing towards your country, which is fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody's talking about it, but I mean, I know we're not here to talk about politics. Mm-hmm. COVID, that stuff has been. What's that? Yeah, what's that saying? A horse beat down or something like that.
Oh, beating a dead horse.
Beating a dead horse. That subject is beat to death. But we have to talk about this, which I've listened to it a couple of times, and let me tell you, it's amazing. It surpasses my expectations. Not that I didn't have any expectations, mm-hmm. but you know how sometimes like the second album is like the album that identifies the band, if that makes any sense. Like the album that makes the band have like a how can I say this? Como una identidad, like an identity, if that makes any sense. So I wonder if you can maybe talk a little bit about how the process of the album went, because it sounds different from the first album. So I don't know if that's something that you guys talk about it. Like, did you get together and say like, okay, let's do something different with the same producer, which is Toshi Kasai, like the fifth member of the band?
I'll speak first. I think that it's a progression. You know, I think that we grew as a band, and just by playing and touring and writing together, it just got better. And I think we really solidified our sound on this album But the process was the same. I mean, we went into the same studio, same producer, same technique as we've done before, whereas we get 3 songs ready, we'll go in, record the 3 songs, and then tighten up the next 3 songs, go back in. So I think there were 3 different sessions of 3 days in the studio. So the process was exactly the same as the first time around.
Interesting.
I think that we basically just grew as a band. What do you think?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do. We toured with the Melvins. We toured with Jesus Lizard, Red Fang, Tool. You know, all these bands, and then that fueled the fire. As far as I think it changed our us as musicians. You know, being that close to bands and touring with them and being in close proximity with them, and
Right.
you know, I think that changes your overall professionalism. And makes you different as songwriters. And then there was a little bit of a difference in songwriting processes is sometimes like not all of the members would be at the rehearsal space, you know, and then it would change the process a little bit. And then the one member that wouldn't be there would show up at the very end, and then, you know, we'd finish it up. So
right.
It was a little different. There was some difference in writing.
That's true.
And then the other different thing that I think, as far as this record, was we came up with the name of the album before really the record was even close to finished. Meg came up with the title, "Songs for the End of the World," and I think that kind of pinpointed the theme, the thematic, the theme, and then also kind of it affected it sonically, because, you know, it's nice to have something to concentrate on, like a little pinpoint, you know, this is
right.
We're gonna do this, Songs for the End of the World. So let's think about that. And that kind of focused us, I think.
Interesting. So there's a few questions I want to ask regarding how you created the album. I always wonder when, and you just mentioned it, when you go into practice and a member of the band is not there for any reason, does that member of the band have to comply with that song? You know, it's like, okay, you were not here that when we wrote that song. Does that member have to, I guess, comply? So we're like, okay, I guess maybe I have to, you know what I mean? Like, do they have to like that song?
Yeah, because I mean, so basically what we're talking about is our lead guitar player, Eric. He's busy, he's got a daytime job, and our rehearsals were during the day, during the week. And for the most part of the first album, he was present for a lot of the writing and a lot of the practicing. And the second album, he just wasn't present. So Antonio and our drummer, Tony, and I, we never stopped, you know, even when COVID hit. Now it's like we have almost a new album written without Eric. And, we're forging forward basically without him because we have to, out of necessity. Nothing's going to slow us down. We want to continue to create.
Right.
So those songs, a lot of those songs were written as a 3-piece. And then Eric would come in and put his lead guitar parts or soundscape, almost like a keyboard effect, on top of the song.
It's not to say that we didn't use like some of his riffs. Like he would write some stuff.
Yeah, he came up with some ideas,
then, then we take that like one part or 2 parts, and then we'd write around it. And then when he could show up, he would show up, and then we would, write with him. But that's just something you have to deal with, I guess, when you're in a band and you want to try to keep the band together.
Yeah, I mean, and just to clarify, I didn't ask this to put him on the spot. It's just that I have never recorded an album, and I have never participated in creating an album. So I don't know how do bands handle that. Like when I was in Toronto, I asked a friend, like he plays in a kind of like a popular punk rock band in Toronto, but like their bass player she doesn't go to practice. So one time I asked my friend, like, so what if she doesn't like the music? She's like, my friend is like, well, she has to like it, but that's the only answer he gave me. So I'm like, does that happen a lot? You know what I mean? Like,
well,
the bands have to.
I mean, if you're not going to be present, you really don't have a say. You know what I mean? I mean, of course you have a say in how things come out and are finalized in the studio, but you know,
you're going to be outvoted.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you're at a 4-piece band and 3 people are like present and writing and you know, moving forward, then you know the 4th person is going to be outvoted basically.
It's hard because I feel like it puts a band at a disadvantage because you're lacking that 4th ear. You're lacking that, you know, that little bit of production value that an extra person would bring in. And it's really important, you know, it's really important, especially when a person is of such caliber as you know, as Eric is, you know, he's an amazing musician. Guy's ridiculous.
No, for sure. And like I said, I'm just curious about, especially you two have been playing music for like over 20 years, right? So you have in Totimoshi, you passed through a lot of drummers. So I'm like, how was it hard to adapt to maybe playing with 2 other musicians? You know, it's just something that occurs to me that I wanna ask people like you that have been playing music for like over 20 years. You know, I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it definitely. When you add a 4th member, it changes the dynamic of, you know, going from a 3-piece to a 4-piece. And I mean, obviously the sound is much fuller. It's more orchestral in a way. But yeah, I mean, I loved being in a 3-piece for so long. And I always said, you know, I never wanted to add another member. But when we started All Souls, it was like something just opened up, like way more possibilities musically. And now I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to being a 3-piece. So
well, All Souls was started as me and Eric. We were writing in a room together, and then that's how the whole band started. So
right.
It was started as a 2-guitar thing. I think though, changing drummers is harder. You know, a drummer, a centerpiece of a rock band. You know, if you have to change a drummer, you're completely changing the band.
Interesting.
You know? Yeah, because I mean, really having Tornay as our drummer. Tornay is in my opinion, one of the best rock drummers around. You know, we toured with the Melvins, and Tornay's just as good as Dale is. And you know, like Kroger's one of the people I hold in the highest of esteems as far as drummers are concerned. And you know, having a drummer like Tornay in the band just makes it easy to write. You know, for all of us, I think. Mm-hmm. You know, having fucking, because he's John Bonham and Keith Moon, you know, Mitch Mitchell put together. You know.
Wow. Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys live. Hopefully next year.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So you said that changing the drummer in a band changes like the sound of the band. Is it because of the flow? Does it have to do with the flow as opposed with the guitar player? Maybe because guitar players are more of like you said, like a soundscape thing, and the drummer it's the one that takes the flow. You know what I'm saying?
There's a few things. I think one is ability. You know, finding another drummer like Tony Tornay would be really, really hard. A guy that not only can do orchestral parts, but then he can do the solid in the pocket stuff as well, which he does in Fast Jetson. He's an amazing in the pocket drummer when he wants to be. You know, but then, you know, I mean, on the record you could hear it. Like there are parts where he's not playing like a traditional drummer, where he's actually doing like a round part around the part. You know, and it allows the part to actually exist, because you know, like some of those parts are so far out there. You know, it's like Ravel or something where it's like a percussive thing. It's as opposed to just a solid in the pocket thing. That's one thing. And then secondly, just having that relationship between, you know, just having that relationship of the rhythm section and its effectuation with the melodic area it's hard. It's a hard thing to change up. You know, drummer, I mean, I feel like there's a communication that me and him have on stage, and obviously him and Meg have really well as well because of the rhythm section. Right. But I feel like there are times where he's with Meg and there are times where he's with me, and that communication is just it's telepathic. It's like a musical telekinesis that like exists within musicians. It's like something that's here. It's in the soul.
And I'll say,
for sure.
You know, when we play live, Tony Tournay is the person that people most go up to after we play. They're riveted by his live performance. I mean, he's like a force. So when you're talking about a drummer in a band visually, in a rock band, in a heavy rock band, you know, they command a lot of attention. And he's so dynamic, and a lot of people really haven't seen people play in his style, I guess, that they are more apt to come up to him than any one of us to compliment. So he's constantly getting like people raving about his performance. But then if you think about a drummer in a 3-piece band, the way they're set up, the drummer is in the center stage, and the guitar player and the bass player are flanked on, you know, right and left. So the drummer is the focal point in a 3-piece. And I mean, I don't know how many drummers. I think we went through like 10 or 11 drummers with Tony Moshi. It was crazy. But yeah, and each time we changed it up, you know, people had to grapple with like, okay, who's this new guy? And is he gonna, you know, fill the shoes of the last one? And fortunately we did get better and better drummers as we went on. And you know, I think the later albums, we had good drummers on those albums, so that was good at least. But
right,
yeah, it's a little tricky to change out members of bands. I mean, I know High on Fire's going through it right now. They lost Desi and they replaced him with somebody, and honestly, like, I saw them and it's not the same, you know. So,
no, I mean, no, I think you are, I agree with you 100%. I haven't seen High on Fire with a new drummer, but I mean, one of the beautiful things about High on Fire was the drummer.
Yeah. He's the one that I always watched in that band. And not because we were friends and roommates with him for many years, but because he's just fantastic. He's a powerhouse. And he was really fun to watch. So,
no, for sure.
Yeah.
They're the heartbeat of the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting. So after going through, yeah, there's a connection, right?
They're the butt.
Drummers, we won't like this. No, but I mean, drummers. I agree with you. I have these conversations with friends all the time. Like a good drummer is what makes the band. You can have like a guitar player that shreds a lot, but if the drummer doesn't hold up to what the guitar player is doing, it doesn't give that push to the music, if that makes sense.
And then that being said, we had known Tony Tournay before, also started for a really long time. And when me and Eric started jamming and kind of writing a little bit together, I had already been talking with Tony for a long time about getting a band together. And, you know,
and even back in Tony Moshi, whenever we would play with Fatso or we would see them play, we'd be like, that's the kind of drummer we want, you know, someone who can play really well, but then the live experience, it's just like, you can't take your eyes off of them, you know. So
for sure,
we're really fortunate to get to play with him.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question. After you went through, you mentioned it, like 11 drummers in Totimoshi. When you started All Souls, was that like, okay, we need to get like a drummer who gets us right away? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
did you talk about that?
Yeah, we all were friends, and so when you already have that established friendship, and you already know that you like the same type of music and you have similar senses of humor and you get along, and we've all hung out before socially, so like that makes it much more easy to enter into like a touring life, because you know these people already. You're going to be living with them in a van, in hotel rooms, on the road for like, you know, weeks on end. So it's important that you get along, and it's important that, you know, what we think is funny, he thinks funny. You know, it's like you don't want to offend anybody when you get like raunchy or whatever. And, you know, shit gets raunchy when you're on the road, you know. So it's just like a band of brothers, even though I'm thrown in the mix. It's like, it can get pretty vile with the humor. So,
Oh, for sure.
I'll just roll with it, and it's hilarious. It's a good time. But yeah, I think the fact that we knew Tony and Eric so well going into it, it was a very smooth beginning to our project.
No, for sure. No, I mean, and it's important that you mentioned this because sometimes people outside, and by outside I mean like people who go to shows,
Mhm.
they don't really understand what happens behind the scenes, I guess, like what happens, yeah, when people tour, sometimes you see a band and they're not playing very well, but and you are like, people are like very judgmental. Oh, that band doesn't play well, but they don't know what's going on. Maybe that member had a bad evening, sorry, a bad morning or something, right? So when you play with new musicians, you have to look for someone that adapts into your lifestyle and personalities, right?
Exactly.
Especially when you, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's so much downtime when you're traveling. You're basically 23 hours of either sleeping, partying, waiting around for your 1 hour, or for I mean, we get like a 45 minutes, if that, on stage. So like, you're waiting your whole day just for that 45 minutes. And so there's just a lot of monotony. So how do you fill up that time? You joke, you do whatever, you like practical joke, you read, whatever. It's like you have to fill it up somehow. So that's why it's important that everybody gets along and everybody has like similar senses of humor, because otherwise you just go insane. I mean, and we've had situations where we've been in bands where we haven't gotten along with our other members, and
Oh, wow.
it's really hard. It makes life on the road miserable, and it makes you question, like, what am I even doing here?
Right. Because like, if you are at a regular workplace, you see your coworker maybe 8 hours tops, right? But you don't.
You go home after that.
You go home, and during those 8 hours at work, it's not like you are next to that person all the time,
Right.
Whether you're in a band, you turn around and that's the person that you don't like.
Yeah, there's no getting away from that person. And then you still have to go on stage and put on a good show. So sometimes the anger and frustration will come out in the performance.
In the music.
Oh yeah. And you can see, like, on stage, like when someone's mad at one another, it happens.
Okay. Okay, now let me ask you this. Having gone through this, not liking a band member, do you think that gives you more, I don't know if the word is creative, if it makes you more creative, or if it, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes disruption makes, or chaos creates something beautiful.
It can come out in aggression, where when we were in Torimoshi, that music was a lot more aggressive and dynamic, or not more dynamic, but it was more intense and aggressive than All Souls. And so I remember specific performances where we were not getting along with our drummer, and the performance would actually be killer because we were frustrated and angry and ready to rip each other apart. But you can't do that on stage, and so you take it out on your instrument, or you channel it through your performance, and it ends up working to your advantage. But then there are other times where Tony was talking about that unspoken communication that musicians have.
Right.
If there's anger, it can come off in a bad way because someone can intentionally fuck something up and blame you for it. You know what I mean? So that it's just like stupid head games that people play, when you're not getting along. And the thing is, you want to respect the music, and people paid to come see you play. So it's like, you don't want to intentionally fuck anything up. You want to put on your best performance. And I mean, I think Tony and I have tried to be as professional as possible throughout our whole career. I mean, we don't even really drink before we play. We might have one beer, if that. But it's like, our music is is a little complicated. And I mean, anything to fuck up our playing or our performance, it's like, no, we don't. We have
Right.
too much respect for it and for ourselves.
I don't find infighting inspirational whatsoever.
No, it's
Ah,
not.
okay.
I don't-
Interesting.
It
I don't-
suppresses creativity, I feel.
Well, I just don't think there's a necessity for it. And like once I started tour managing and touring with bands that are really professionals, like the Melvins and stuff like that, and the Roses, and I started realizing there's ways to be professional. If you have problems with people, just immediately get it over with. Just go up to them,
Okay.
talk to them, yell at them. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. Like if you got to yell at each other, but get it out.
Mhm.
And then just get down the road, and then everything gets figured out. And that way it's not screwing up your day, and it's not.
Yeah, you don't want things to fester.
Yeah, you don't want things to fester. And then I
Right.
just don't. I think, I mean, honestly, like inspirationally, like as far as creativity is concerned, I think that your creativity is forged early in life. You know, you become a musician because you're a creative person. That's not going to be fueled by anything that any fights or any of this sort of thing. You know, you're already a creative person. That what that's going to do is it's basically just going to give you content. It's going to
Right.
give you something to write about. It's not going to because the creativity is already there. You know, you're either an artist or you're not. And I found it interesting when I was a kid. I would read, like I was really into like Jose Clemente Orozco, and I read his autobiography, and I'm always waiting for that moment. Like, what was it? What thing happened to him that made him
Who he
an
is.
artist? And then, his arm was cut off. And it's like
Right.
it's like one thing or another. It's like always Frida. You just go, every single artist, you go down the road, and it's something that happened at some point in their life, some massive trauma that just turned them into an artist and made them go down that road. So that's already there, I think. I mean, any little
For sure.
dumb good shit your bandmate might do, if you have the unfortunate circumstance of having a crappy bandmate, isn't going to inspire you. It's just, if anything, it's just going to kill inspiration.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, no, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I see bands like The Police, and there's some tension between Sting and the drummer. So that tension, I wonder if that, like, but it's cool that you gave your point of view, because for me it's like, okay, so that tension, does that make them create songs like Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, or like they're so on point? But I wonder
I would say no, man. I would say, you think of the Police and the reason they broke up. They broke up. Had they been able to get along, maybe they would have written more incredible music as time would have gone.
Right, yeah, no, that's true. Or Pink Floyd, right?
The Police and Rush stayed together, stayed friends all that entire span of time, and created all this amazing music. The same thing with Led Zeppelin. The same thing with all these, I mean, Sabbath up to a point until they threw Ozzy out. But like, these bands that stay together and stay friends, Mastodon is one of those bands. And they stay together, they figure it out, and they continue to just inspire and inspire and inspire and inspire. And then, but if you have that infighting, it'll just break apart and it's dead.
No, for sure. And it takes a lot of maturity and a lot of like inner work, if you will, like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Maybe I'm pissing off Tony because I don't know. So instead of like not talking about it, that makes maybe the show go bad, like you said, Meg, right? Like maybe I'm not playing the fields with love, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So now I want to go a little bit deeper into the sound of Songs for the End of the World. That I love the title, by the way. So when you started recording the album, did you use the same instruments, the same amplifiers, or did you talk to Tosh about how you wanted the album to sound?
We use the same. Basically, we use what Toshi has in the studio, and he's got a couple Fender amps that I use. One of them used to be owned by the Go-Go's, which was really cool. I got to play like an old Go-Go's amp.
Oh, cool.
And then Eric used mostly he used a Marshall. Which one was it? It's an old Marshall from the 70s that Dale Crover owns. He used that one, and then he used a Soldano, which he used in the last recording as well. So it's just basically whatever Toshi has in the studio. I think the biggest differences instrumentation wise is there was an electric sitar in the recording. I think that's it pretty much. There's an electric sitar. There's the same the C tuning country 6-string the guitar that we used in the last record, and then there's a lot of electric 12-string on the guitar or on the album as well, that our friend Sasha, who owns Dunnable Guitars, loaned.
Oh yeah, internaut, great guy.
Yeah, he's a really nice person. He loaned Eric a double string or a double neck guitar with a really nice sounding 12-string neck on it.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow,
he a bunch of 12-string stuff on it.
Yeah.
So I can't think of much other different instrumentation. I mean, there
was a gang vocal, like all the guys did a background vocal. It sounds
just can't win.
So there was a little bit more background vocals on this one, and then Toshi always adds his own vocal in there, like after we leave, when he's mixing and producing, and then we'll listen back. We're like, that's Toshi's voice. I can hear that little Japanese accent in there. And he did it a lot with Tony Moshi too. So he throws his own vocals in there a lot.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that. He's such a sweetheart. Yeah, Toshi, yeah. He's the best. I never got the chance to go to his studio, but when I was in LA, I got to hang out with him, and yeah, he's besides being a nice person, he's like a savage behind like the, how would you call it, like the mix board and everything. Would be cool to talk to him.
Yeah, he's so fast. Yeah, he's got such great ideas. He's an excellent producer.
Does he? Yeah, that's my next question. How much of an input does he have in the music of All Souls? Like when he's producing, does he give you advice, like maybe the chorus can go before or after the song? I don't know, like
no, not so much. I think the songs are pretty much solidified by the time we go in, but he's really great at like getting the best performance out of us, which is what a good producer can do. And so, his ear is spot on if someone's slightly out of tune, or if we didn't, we might think we played a song perfectly, and he'll be like, no, you can do better. And maybe it's just like the energy behind how we played it. Maybe it wasn't like lively enough, or maybe it was too lively and it should have been more relaxed. Sometimes those little nuances only a producer can hear, and we don't even notice. And so we'd be like, all right, let's try it again, so we'll do different takes, and sometimes he might patch different takes together to get the best sounding take. And then with Tony's vocals and my vocals too, he'll help us out a lot with pitch and how like it should sound, like how he thinks it should sound. So
wow.
What do you think?
I think that Toshi is ever the Buddhist, and that his approach is always, you can do better. That's Toshi's thing, is you can do better. And what's the other one? I can't remember the other one, but I can fix that. Okay. that's Toshi's. And then I do Pro Tools rough demos for him.
Okay.
And then I'll send them to him before
like
before
a
we get into the studio. Yeah. And there have been a couple moments where, like on this bridge, you can do better. So there have been times there's one song on that record where I rewrote the chorus because he told me that I could do better.
It wasn't catchy enough.
Yeah, so I rewrote the chorus like really quickly and did a different vocal or vocal melody.
Mm-hmm. And that's a music.
That's Toshi, man. Like he's just he just kind of. He's like a cheerleader. He's the perfect, and I really like that approach, man, because it's not so it's not so antagonistic in the studio. You know, he's not antagonizing anybody. He's keeping everybody really cool, calm, collected. And when he sees, and I tend to get emotional. And when he sees that I'm kind of getting emotional, he talks to me. He's like, "Hey, you need to settle down. Like, you need to stop." Like, and then it calms me down. You know,
no, for sure.
Respect for the guy. You know, I'm
Right.
a hot-headed Mexican.
I know, especially from LA, right? Like California, most Mexicans are hot-headed. I love it. I love it. I mean, I'm a hothead myself. I have calmed down myself a lot since I started doing more like martial arts and stuff like that, and meditating and all that hippie stuff. But yeah, we're Mexicans are hot-headed.
Good for you.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I want to ask you, like, when Toshi talks to you, how do you navigate this is going to sound a little bit deep, but how do you navigate your ego with what, as a musician, right? As a musician, I think like musicians keep their art very, very protected. They are very protected of their art. So when someone comes and tells you like, okay, maybe you can do this better, or maybe you can fix this, how do you navigate that? Like, you know, because sometimes I feel that musicians are so attached to their art, which is understandable, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing is it's what's best for the song. You know what I mean? It's not about us as individuals or our egos, but it's, you know, what is the best thing to do for the song. And sometimes we know what that is, and sometimes Toshi might know what that is. And so he can make little changes or suggestions or changes to our performance or vocals to make it even better. And then, you know, it's always when listening back to it, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't even think to do that. Or that does sound better. That's great. Great idea, you know. And sometimes it might not work, but you want to try different things just to see about getting the best performance possible or the best song possible.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, and we trust him, you know. I mean, he's done incredible work, and I mean, I don't know how many albums. I think this was our fourth album.
We worked so much together that I feel like, okay, well,
he's almost like another member of the band.
Yeah, we're a team,
right?
And it does a person a disservice if you're not going to listen to them if you brought them into the team, you know.
Right.
And we made a conscious decision when we started All Souls. We sat at a table and we said, okay, here's how we're gonna. The songwriting is going to be split between the four of us, 25, you know, it's 25, 25, 25, 25%. Everybody is 1/4 owner of this entity, you know, and that's the same thing. It's like, well, we brought Toshi in, and why would we bring him in if we didn't want to listen to his opinions and take it?
Right.
You know,
right. No, it's interesting. I think this is the fifth record. Like you did the 3 last records, like Totimoshi albums with him, right? Plus these 2 All Souls album.
Yeah, we did Ladron.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the last 3.
Milagrosa and Avenger with him.
And then these 2, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's fascinating that you have worked with Toshi for the last, I guess, 11, 12 years, right?
Yeah.
Have you thought about taking him on tour? Maybe like another musician?
No, he wouldn't do it either. I mean, he's too busy. He's got his studio, and he plays in Dale Crover's band now. And so, you know, he goes on tour a little bit on his own. And he's about to be a father. So he's starting a new family. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't think he would want to go on the road, honestly. I mean, he's done it for other bands, but he's in a different place in his life right now where it's, you know, he's got a career.
Wow. Yeah, it would be really cool to see him play with you guys.
Oh, it'd be amazing. I mean, you know, maybe like for some big local show or festival, we could like rein him in for something like that, but have to pay him some good money.
Yeah. So I know you have a busy schedule, and I really appreciate you taking the time in talking to us. So before I let you go, I want to go and talk a little bit about like the concept of the band All Souls, because I feel, and this is my point of view, or I would like to know your point of view of All Souls, that the name souls is in the name of the band, or sorry, the word souls is in the name of the band. Do you believe in something else out there when you die? Do you believe in something, in a soul? Do you believe there's something out there? How much of your spiritual beliefs is involved in the band? You know, I want to go a little bit deep into that, because I always wonder if you guys believe in these things, especially you, Tony. You're Mexican, right? So Mexicans, we all have this thing about Jesus and Dios, la Virgen María, la Santa Muerte, and everything. So I wonder if you guys believe in those beliefs, I guess.
You want to speak in Spanish, or?
I mean, my beliefs are, I don't believe in Catholicism whatsoever. I grew up Catholic,
right?
But I left the church a long time ago. I just don't believe in Christianity and Catholicism. I'm of the opinion that there's no such thing as death. There's just constant regeneration in the universe. That our cells, and whatever this magic of consciousness is that we engage in, that we happen to, it's a gift. You know, you get it for a very short span of time. But I think the consciousness actually exists within your cells as well, within the microcosms of your body, within the microcosms of everything in the universe, a stick, a stone. I mean, they've even proven that plants have consciousness. They've found that out. So this engagement of consciousness is momentary, and then when you pass, it's just simply a metamorphosis into a different form of being in life, and you continue on, but you continue in a different form.
Right, and and do you believe that continuation is something else, or is it just energy that wanders around something else? Like I wonder what happens after we die, right? I mean, I do believe that we have a soul. I somehow seen it when I have participated in ceremonies. But I wonder, like, if you guys think about that. I mean, All Souls, right? All Souls is pretty much El Día de los Muertos, right? Something like that. Yeah, I guess that tradition in Mexico, right? Día de los Muertos.
Right. Well, our drummer Tony actually came up with the name, and we loved it. I mean, I think because it feels all encompassing and all inclusive, and it includes everything, everybody. And we don't really see differences between people, or differences between like living and dead. You know, it's like you can communicate with people that have passed on, whether it be in dreams or in sensing them, or, you know, memories that come flooding back. You know, as long as you can remember somebody, you can sort of conjure up their spirit, is how I feel. And I also feel that, you know, death is a transformation. And I lost both my parents recently, like in the last year and a half or so.
Sorry.
And it was interesting because I watched my mom pass away. And when I went back to her house and tried to go to sleep in her bed, there was this sort of like, it was like a light show that happened over my face, it was like hovering over my face. And it was like stars. It was all this like glitter, blue and green, and just sort of like swirling. And it was her, you know, it was her. And it was really beautiful, but I was so tired. I was just like, I had traveled from California to Massachusetts. I was just like, Mom, I know, I see you. Like, let me go to sleep. But there was a beautiful interaction. And, you know, I've had many dreams about people that have passed on. And I always feel like they're in another dimension, you know, or whether it's my memory of them, we're still communicating. And it could be a parallel universe. Who knows? You know, like I could be living where they are now. I don't know, you know? there could be multiple lives happening at the same time. And sometimes you tap into that. And I can't even explain how, but I feel like there are times where I've tapped into another simultaneous life that I'm living with people that have passed away.
And that's the thing, is that our brains are so limited, monkey brains.
Well, I think that's a trick that our minds are expansive, but in order to be able to live day to day, go to work, make dinner, drive a car, stay in your lane, you have to trick yourself into realizing that you have to play this game in order to be able to survive and kind of play by the rules. But there are people that can expand their minds and be able to see things in a much more expansive way.
Right.
If you don't limit yourself to believing that there is only the here and now.
What's interesting is sound waves. The way we process sound waves in the human body isn't just through the ears. It's actually through the skin. And a lot of the absorption of sound actually happens through your entire skin. So it's your whole body engaging in this this activity of sound understanding, and the process of your brain like sort of interpreting it into what you interpret it to. So that it's what's interesting is that consciousness, we view consciousness as this thing that happens here in the brain, that every day it's the same thing over and over again, but your actual entire body is engaging in consciousness at all times. It isn't just happening in one certain place. We see it because we see, or because we feel, or because we touch or smell, because of our sensory perceptions. But it's further. It goes further than that. There's something different.
Well, we sense vibration. If there's something to be afraid of, our body responds. Like our hair will stand up on the back of our neck or our arms, or if there's something that's like super cute, we might feel like, oh, like there's different reactions that we have to vibration, that that's something that you can't really see, but you can sense it.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, like the sixth sense. No, for sure, especially when I started practicing meditation and experimenting with natural substances, I am more aware of what you are mentioning, that like a sixth sense wakens up in you, like you are more aware of people's energy. I do believe in that. Like you, Tony, I was raised Catholic, but a long time ago I decided that's not the way I want to go. Although there are great teachings, right? Like don't steal, don't lie. But in the more spiritual way, there are things that I can take from Christ or Catholicism, like soul, like we do. I do believe that we have a soul, right? We probably are not. Most people are not in touch with that, but I do believe that there's something out there. I don't know what that is, but I do believe that we connect to something. I do believe that we are like an antenna. Bring it back to what you said about creativity. I do believe that we all have some sort of creativity in ourselves, but it depends to us how we connect to that, if that makes sense. Maybe some people are creative with their money, some people are creative with enterprises, and there's people that are creative with music, right?
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, what was your take on the spirituality, and if you guys believe in the afterlife, or if there's like soul, or
all of something. It. Afterlife, parallel lives, past lives.
Yeah. Have you had an experience where you're like, oh shit, I mean, you mentioned about your mom, but have you experienced something as intense as that? Like, I don't know, you're by yourself and suddenly, I don't know, something crazy, something moves, or.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that been open to that kind of thing since I was a kid. And when I was in college, there was a dorm that a bunch of my friends lived in Boston that was, I think, built in the 16 or 1700s. It was a hotel, and there were multiple deaths that had happened in the hotel. And it turned into a dormitory. And there were rules in place that no one was allowed to use a Ouija board because it conjured up those spirits like a poltergeist. So personally, I saw like some stuff that you just couldn't explain, like be sitting on a bed and then all of a sudden like there would be an indentation on the bed next to you, like something sat down next to you. And then the window and the sash would fly up, like that indentation would get up and just like fly out the window. So those are the things that I saw. And then in the other rooms, friends of mine would see like lamps, fall off the dresser. This is back when we had payphones on the floor. Every payphone on the floor would start ringing at the same time. So it was kind of like a haunted building, like a poltergeist.
Right.
So that was really freaky. And I never wanted to walk around in that place by myself or be alone in that place by myself. But yeah, I mean, definitely I've seen some stuff like that. And you can't explain it other than like, oh, well, it's a ghost.
Right. Yeah. No, I've seen stuff like that. You know what freaks me out the most when I don't get them anymore, or I haven't got them in a long time. When you're sleeping, I think like the technical way is sleeping paralysis or some stuff like that.
Yeah.
But man, that stuff is really creepy. Have you had it before?
Tony's had similar, haven't you, with your dad, where like it's a shadow self?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So he's had dreams where
Brujo.
You want to
It's
see?
like basically it's like there was an image that would come to me in my dreams, and he would pretend to be my dad, but he wasn't my dad.
His dad had passed away already.
And he had all the se parecía el mismo, He looked exactly like my dad, and but then he would try to trick me into doing like saying these things, like shitty things, and like telling me like this is the way it is, and then finally one day he would come to me and he was fucking with me, man. And then one day he came to me and I told him in my dreams, I'm like, you're not my fucking dad. And all of a sudden he like
disappeared.
Boom, just like that, and he never came back in my dreams ever again.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I had like the sleeping paralysis, and it freaks me out because I feel the presence of bad energy. It's weird, and I don't know how to explain it, but I do feel that something came to visit me. I don't know I don't know if I could call it a demon, but there was some bad energy there that freaks me out. But I mean, it's just fascinating. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You got to clear your space. You got to burn your copal, your sage, throw the salt out the windows, wash the floor.
Yeah, I have my Buddha here.
Uh-huh.
My little Buddha.
Yeah,
and I have this. You know what's this? Palo Santo.
Palo Santo. I use that too all the time.
Yeah, it's the best.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
So you know how to clear your space.
Yeah, maybe
you
when
have to do it regularly. You have to constantly, because things can infiltrate.
No, for sure. Maybe next time I come visit, we can have like we can talk about this crazy stuff. Yeah, I spent 3 months in Peru.
Oh, really?
Wow. In the jungle. I went through my hippie phase.
Good for you. I want to hear all about that sometime.
Yeah, for sure. I think you'll find it fascinating. I was working at a I guess a ayahuasca retreat, like translating for the gringos that came to Peru to experiment with the medicine. And I was offered the job, and I didn't have anything going on at the time, so I'm like, fuck it. I'll do it.
That's cool.
So man, you saw a bunch of people tripping balls and shitting and puking?
Yeah, and I actually know a couple of people in LA that do that, and they went to Peru to train, and that's another conversation.
Okay.
But I just wanted to know what was your take on this, on spirituality, souls, and the afterlife.
Yeah, I would say we're pretty spiritual people.
That's cool. Well, I know you gotta go and you have a busy day, but it was so awesome to see your faces again. It's been a long time.
You too, and we're
And
going to
too,
Mexico soon. We're going to Baja. We're getting away for the election. We already voted, so we decided to get out of the country and go to Baja for a couple of weeks because it's going to be crazy and probably be contested and everything else. So we need
oh
to get away
yeah,
from the news. So yeah, we'll be down in Mexico, just scuba diving, snorkeling, and just getting away from everything, just being in nature.
no, for sure, but not Mexico City, right? You were
No.
coming, right?
Yeah, but I mean, because of COVID, it's a little tricky.
It's too
So
bad.
we got to
Yeah.
wait until things calm down a bit. And
I think
when
Baja because it's not very
there's not a lot
populated.
of people, and we just want to do outdoor type things, so not be in the thick of a city. But we definitely want to spend some time in Mexico City as soon as it's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure, and please let me know, and of course I'll
Definitely.
take you. I'll show you around. And you mentioned Frida Kahlo's house. It's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah,
You
Yeah,
can come here and stay with us in LA too, man.
yeah.
yeah, but you know what? You can sense her suffering,
Mhm.
how much she suffered. It's really freaky and beautiful at the same time, because
Mhm.
at the end of they open a new wing. So at the end of the tour of her house, you can go to another room and see
Oh
her
yeah.
dresses,
Oh, I read about that.
Wow.
like her dresses, and you look at them and you're like, wow, she wore that, when
They
while she
hold
was
so much
painting.
energy, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't gone there high. I want to do that. Get high as fuck and see what's up.
And channel Frida.
Yeah, well, not really channel her, just to see what's up, because I do believe that it opens some sort of
Like a portal.
like, yeah, I guess so. Or it takes you. I do believe that these substances takes your glasses off like a mask, like
Yeah.
the filters we have as humans. So it
Yes,
makes you more open and all that. So
definitely.
I
Medicinal.
definitely I
Mhm.
want to do that.
Hey, I
So
hear that they're going to legalize. Are they legalizing marijuana in Mexico?
we're on our way to do that.
Mhm.
It will take a little bit more of pushing from the people,
Yeah,
but it's getting there probably next
seems
year.
like it's heading in the right direction.
Yes, yes, yes. We on the podcast we had some people that are working towards that. So yeah,
Right?
it's, I mean, it's stupid
It's a
not to
plant.
be illegal. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
plan. Come on,
Yep.
like alcohol. I
So
can
much worse.
go I can go to the store and buy like a tequila bottle, drink it by myself, and probably die, right?
Yeah, I know. You're not going to die
But
on weed.
oh wait, no. So thank you again for doing the
Yeah,
show.
man.
Thanks,
Love you
Joel.
guys.
Love you
Thank you for having
Please
too.
us. Love you
pl-
too.
please keep in touch, and just give me a second. Let me